but let's just go through this real briefly. Because of the number of people that are on the line with us, the webinar is, or we've got everyone on mute to cut down on background noise. However, we would like for you to ask questions. So on the right side of your screen, you should see a control panel. And on that control panel, there's a tab that says questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, we're going to ask that you type it in right there. I'll be monitoring the questions. I'll present them to Brian as appropriate, and we'll make sure that we get those questions answered. If there are a lot, we'll wait till the end of the broadcast to answer those questions. While you found that, to let me know that you found the question tab and you know how to ask a question, and to make sure that you can hear me and that the audio is working well. Please just type in hello, or I can hear you, or hey there, or get on with it already, just so that we know that you can hear us, okay? Okay, Rick, thank you. Rick says, Rick is here. Hi, Scott. Hey, Krista, hi. How are you? Thanks for joining us today. All right, it looks like we're good. You know how to say, how to ask questions. So let's get on with it. How to build your builder's sales machine. Before we introduce that, we want to introduce our next topic. On March 16th, again at 2 p.m., Brian is again going to be presenting our second of our monthly Builder Radio webinars. Better is boring, different is radical. So we'll have a sign-up form for that very shortly after today's presentation. Also, everyone that remains on the call till the end is going to, you don't have to do anything to get that, but we've got a free gift for you. It's attendees are going to get a digital copy of Brian's book, Master What Matters, and stay to the end and you'll get that free of charge. You don't have to do anything. Now, Brian Fluke is the president of Power Marketing and Builder Radio, our sponsors today. Brian is a master of the Institute of Residential Marketing, a MERM, with 25 years experience in home builder marketing. Very accomplished speaker, very accomplished marketer. Brian had two presentations last week at the International Builder Show. So fresh from that, let's turn it over to Brian with our topic today, how to build a builder sales machine. Brian?
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good.
Well, good. Hi, guys. Everybody, welcome, ladies. Welcome, gentlemen. Today we want to talk about marketing and the fact that marketing is the art of persuasion. You know, I've always said marketing is an art and a science. Marketing is the art, but influence is the science. And you know, what we want to be able to talk about today is, over the years, we get calls here at our office on a regular basis, and you know, people are often saying and questioning us, where should I spend my money? What's the most important elements that we should invest our dollars in? And that's where we built the Builder Sales Machine. By answering that question enough times, we kind of looked at each other one day and said, gee, let's make some sense out of this. So we created what we call the Builder Sales Machine. And in essence, what it is, it's just the top things that you need to do as a builder or as a manufacturer to make sure that from a digital perspective and from a traffic generation perspective, because it's all about numbers, that you're doing the right things. So before we get too far into that, I've got a history. Like Scott said, 25 years. That's how old my company is, but I've actually been in the home building industry for closer to 30. And in that time, so much has changed. It's pretty radical just what's happened in the industry. And you know, back in the day, marketing was a game of interruption. We used all kinds of tools to interrupt our clientele. We were looking to get into their face and get their attention. We would use things like radio, television, direct mail, magazine ads, all these different tools back in the day. Well, what has happened is technology's caught up with us. So now, instead of radio being a great interruption tool, and it still is a good tool, people just have Sirius satellite radio, so they don't have to listen to the ads. And with television, we have TiVo, and direct mail, we just throw that in the trash can. Magazine ads, telephone marketing. You know, as a telephone marketer, you know what you're up against, the caller ID and the different laws. So there are a lot of reasons that interruptive marketing doesn't work quite like it used to. So what do we do today? Well, we have to figure out another way to persuade people to listen to our message. So what we find today is that we work based on permission. So instead of interrupting you, I'm looking for tools that will give you the opportunity to grant me permission. And obviously the most easy one to use as an example is Facebook. When someone says, will you like us? Basically what you've done when you like a company is you've given that company permission to speak to you. So before we get too far into the builder sales machine, let's talk about what I call the 6 principles of influence. The first principle is the principle of reciprocity. And what that means is that when someone does something for us, we feel obligated to return the favor. It literally is a hardwired principle in our brain. Someone opens the door for you, you feel obliged to open the door for them. That's where the word obliged comes from. When someone says much obliged, what that really means is, gee, thanks, you opened the door for me, now I feel what? Obligated. I have to do it for you. So one of the principles of influence when you start to talk about your sales and marketing is the principle of reciprocity. The second principle is what I call the principle of authority. And that means simply just what's happening today. You've come to my webinar because you're looking to experts to show you the way. When a home buyer comes to you as a builder, they're looking for the expert to show them the way. None of us want to be accountable, so we'd rather have someone else tell us how to do it so we can do as they say. The third is commitment and consistency. The bottom line is this: we want to behave consistently with our closest held beliefs and values. It's very difficult to operate for any length of time outside of your own value system and outside of your own beliefs. So what do? Well, we use that principle in our marketing. A good example of that, and I used this one in my seminar at DC last week, if you've ever seen the Geico commercial where Mrs. Lincoln walks into the room and she looks at Abe and she says, does this dress make my backside look big? Well, of course, at that moment, every man in the room is going, Abe, you're dead here, pal. There's not a thing you can do to win this battle. And Abe just does the little finger thing and he says, well, just a little, and she storms out. Well, the point of that advertisement isn't Abe Lincoln at all. It's that Geico took a memory, something we already have in our heads and in our memories, and they hung their message right on that. So in order for that to get through our reticular activating system, it didn't have to pass through the gate because it's already in there. So using the principle of commitment consistency is another one. Scarcity. Scarcity is a principle that simply says this: it's unique. I have to move now or I may miss my opportunity. It taps into our fears. You know, it's why we say we have a special this weekend, or it's why we say we have a special price, because we want people to believe that that won't be there the next time they come. That's the principle of scarcity. The principle of liking, you know, this is such common sense, but it's a very real principle. It says that we buy more from people that we like than we do from people that we don't like. So the bottom line is it does pay to be liked. So pay attention and try to be liked. The last one is an interesting one. It's called social proof. And it talks about we look to others to guide our behavior. There was a comedian, British comedian, who once said, this is a really, really nice hotel. I love it. My suitcase is stuffed so full of towels that I can barely get it closed because they're so fluffy. You know, back in the day, stealing towels was a challenge for hotels. Well, today one of the challenges is trying to get us to hang the towel on the hanger so they don't have to wash it every day. So for the first beginning years of that effort, what you would find is those little displays on the sink would say something like, you know, please help us save our environment, recycle your towel. Well, what we found out is that that sort of pitch, it worked a little, but the pitch that actually works much better is one based on social proof, where we simply say this: did you realize that 30% of our guests recycle their towel? that actually works much better. Why? Because the principle of social proof says, well, if everyone else is doing it, well, I guess I better do it too. So those are the 6 principles of influence. As we talk about the sales machine, we'll be talking about those principles. So let's talk about 2016. I'm just giving a hypothetical situation here, so you can kind of walk along with me. If it's close for you, that's good. If it's not, that's okay too. You'll get the point. Let's say your target is 15 sales in 2016. If you're getting around 120 visitors to your website on a weekly basis, you may or may not be, and we're going to assume that 5% of those folks go from being a website visit to an actual physical visit to your site, and with a 5% sales closing ratio, which is pretty much the industry standard, although I think it's probably creeping up to more like 6.5% now, that you're going to get approximately 1.3 sales a month. It's pretty simple math. I've done that math equation 1,000 times in the past 30 years. That's how we as a marketing company can begin to back into your year. We can look at those numbers and go, okay, if we need 1.3 sales a month, then let's assume we got a pretty good salesperson. He's going to close 5%, and we just simply back into that number. That's a great way to look at your year and then begin to determine, okay, what do I need? Excuse me. What is the builder sales machine? Let me give you the overview real quick. The first aspect of the builder sales machine is your website. In today's world, bar none, there's just nothing more important than your website, and we'll go through each one in detail. Second is what we call SEO, otherwise known as search engine optimization. That's making sure that when people Google you or they Bing you, that they find you. The third is social media. Social media is a very powerful tool today. You have to know how to use it and when to use it properly, but it's still a very powerful tool. And then lastly, CRM and marketing automation. So here's the number that you've all heard. If you haven't, you need to look at this real close. 90% of all new home sales begin online. That's not a debatable fact anymore. We know for a fact that in just about any given marketplace that 90% of the sales begin somewhere online. So where do they begin? Well, they might begin with an online search in Google or Bing or Yahoo that leads to the website. They might begin with a banner ad that leads to a website. They might begin with an email, here we go, that leads to a website. How about an ad that leads to a website? You see anything consistent here? A truck decal that leads to a website, a phone call that leads to a website. You know, how many times do you talk to someone? I know in my business I say, well, let's go to the website. I can show you those examples. Let's go to the website. I've got that plan just the way you're describing it. Let me show it to you. So the point is this. The website is Grand Central Station today. If you don't get it right, then it's going to be hard to make any of the other tools be super effective, because when people get to your website, if it doesn't build credibility, if it doesn't impress them, then you're not going to get the satisfaction you want. So what do you want the website to do? Well, let's take a quick look at that. First off, it must be found. It doesn't do you any good if no one can find it. We're going to talk about SEO at length here in a little bit. Number two, it's got to be intuitive. You know, this is crucial. This is maybe best illustrated in what I call the genius of Steve Jobs. Jobs was able for many, many years to build tools, not only tools that we didn't know we needed, but to build them in such a way that they were ridiculously easy and intuitive to use. We didn't have to think about it. We just picked them up and we used them, and that's just the way it worked. So intuitiveness is crucial. People need to be able to get where they want to go on your website without thinking about it. If they have to think about it, then you're going to lose them. It needs to be efficient. They need to get there quickly. I don't want to have to click 7 clicks to find a floor plan. To be honest, I'd like to do it in 2, and at the worst case, 3. Get me to your floor plans first and foremost. Why? Because I can tell you we've looked at hundreds of builder websites and looked at their analytics, and hands down, they're not going to the About You section of your website. They're going to your floor plans. They want to see what you have to offer. What's the product? Sometimes your product is a community as well as a floor plan. So it may get a little bit slower, but the bottom line is get them there as efficiently as possible. Here's one of my favorites. Your website today has to include great photography. And, you know, I always say good photography doesn't sell. Only great photography sells. And you don't need 20, 30, 50 great photos on your website. The truth is, if I'm building your website or my guys are building your website, if you can give us 3 to 6 great photos, that may be all we need. Because if we can make that impression on the home page and maybe make it on the top page of a couple other sections of your website, that great photography will build the credibility. It will show people that you're not only worthy of their time, but that you're the kind of builder that they want because they see the product that you build. A website must be mobile, responsive design. Let's talk about that for just a minute. Well, no, let's not. Let's keep going, and I'll get to that. So mobile responsive design simply means, and I'll show you some examples of that here in a moment, it means that no matter what device the website is opened up on, that it behaves according to the size of that device. It doesn't resize to fit the device. That's a misnomer. It actually is rebuilt on the go, on the fly, to fit the device. So if your device is a 3x2 screen, the browser is telling your website which aspects it wants to see on a 3x2 screen. If you're on an iPad or any kind of pad, it's then telling the browser, this is what I now want to see. Your website must have adequate and relevant keyword-loaded content as well as metadata. I do a lot of SEO. My guys do a lot of SEO. Our digital marketing expert, Trent, is fantastic at this stuff. And one of the things we hear a lot is a client will come to us and say, well, I'm being optimized for 1,000 keywords. And we look at their website, and they barely have 1,000 words on their entire website. So you have to be careful with that sort of thing. Google only recognizes words. That's the currency of Google's internet. So we have to make sure that your content, your metadata, everything, your URL, your URIs are loaded with good keyword-loaded content. So then, provide gated lead magnets. Make sure that your website has places on it that require people to fill out some information. We'll talk some more about that as we go along. We want to capture leads and automate follow-up in the nurture process. We'll talk about that some more as well. I talked about gated opportunities. Here's a site that we built for Value Build Homes down in North Carolina. If you see on their home page, there are 2 gated opportunities right there. You go to the next page, boom, boom, boom. There's all these opportunities where we're saying to the visitor, if you want our questions, give us your name. If you want to read our top 5 house plans, give us your name and email. Those are called gated opportunities. We're expecting the consumer to play along. They will. Don't ask for too much. You know, the first time they click on something, don't ask for everything from their child's birthday to their date of birth and their grandmother's name. Just start low, and sometimes we'll even ask for one piece. When they put the second in, we'll open up and maybe ask for 1 or 2 more. Responsive mobile design, I talked about that. This is what the Value Build Home site looks like on your desktop. That's a full desktop view of that website. Now if you look here, you can see what it looks like on a pad as well as on an iPhone. Now you can see that it isn't just a smaller version. If you look at the iPad, you can see that the descriptor language is still over the photography. When it goes down to a phone, it's dropped down below. That's what's called mobile responsive design. We're making sure that no matter who or where they open your website, it's viewable. The number of people who are looking for builder websites on their phones, on their pads, is skyrocketing every single year. If your site's not mobile responsive, number one, Google doesn't even recognize you anymore. As of April 21st of 2015, Google sent out some, we called it Mobilegeddon. They sent out some warnings basically saying any website that isn't mobile responsive by April 21st will no longer be indexed by Google. So it's really, really a crucial thing. So the second item when it comes to talking about the sales machine is what we call SEO, search engine optimization. So what is SEO? Well, it's what we do to make sure when someone searches keywords that are important to you, that you come up in Google's what we call SERPs, S-E-R-P, search engine results pages. Now, if you look here at this chart that's up, you'll see that Google has 65.44% of world searches. Google really owns the search world. When we optimize your website, we'll optimize for Google. We'll also optimize for Bing, who, as you can see, has about a 15.8% share. And we'll also optimize for Yahoo. We won't go any further than that because the other guys, at the end of the day, just don't matter. Google and Bing. Bing's market share actually rose a little bit this year, which was a little surprising. Google's the king of the hill. When you're doing SEO or we're doing SEO for you, we want to make sure that when someone searches a keyword that's important to you, that you come up in Google. So if you look at the page there, you'll see several things. The first top of the page is if someone clicks a keyword. I did New Homes, Pittsburgh, PA there. The first thing you see across the top with the yellow blocks, those are advertisements. So when you hear us talk about pay-per-click, that's what you're looking at. Those are the ads that if someone clicks on those ads, they actually have to pay for that click. If you look down below it, you'll see what's called local search. Local search is very, very important for builders. Not so much for national companies like Coke and Chevy and Rocky's Pizza or whoever. The bottom line is local search is crucial for builders because everything we do in the home building industry really is based on locality. It's based on location. The preference of homes is based on location. If you live in Dallas, you may have a family room on the second floor. You'd never put a family room on the second floor in Northern Virginia. It really is a local issue. So Google Local pays attention to where the searcher keys in they're looking. So if someone says New Homes Pittsburgh, PA, it's going to pull up new home builders in Pittsburgh, PA. Now, if you notice that particular search, I believe it was 34,300,000 results. So when you say to me, Brian, we want to come up in page 1, what you're really saying is we want to be in position 1 through 10 of 34,300,000. It's not quite that scary, and actually it's not nearly that scary, but that gives you an idea of how many results are coming up. There you can see the bottom half of the local pages. If you look at the bottom of that page, now what you're seeing is the actual organic results. These are the results that Google will tell you get the most attention. Pay-per-click works. It works really well for immediacy and quick turnaround. But at the end of the day, if you stop paying, you stop playing. Your pay-per-click result will end the day you stop paying Google for it. Organic results, on the other hand, are based on a literal plethora, hundreds of other variables. How many links your site has to larger links, how your metadata is loaded, how many backlinks you have. There are just a ton of items that we begin to do from an organic perspective to make sure you come up on at least page 1 of Google. This is back, you can see there are the first 4. If I could scroll down, you could see more. There are 10 organic results on every single page. So, number 2, watch out for snake oil salesmen. If you have the average builder website and someone tells you they want to optimize your site for 500 words, odds are you're talking to a snake oil salesman. You can't optimize your site for words that aren't on your site. And you can't just create pages where you stuff words so that Google can find them. That used to work 10 years ago, but nowadays Google catches on to stuff really fast. They will ding you for that, and you'll lose position when you play those games. You know, I heard 3 years ago someone said that SEO was going to go away and that search would no longer rely on it. And I can tell you today that SEO is more important today than I've ever seen it. Google continually changes the rules. It's a moving target, but it's what we do every day. We can help you get those high search results. It just takes time. It isn't free. Nothing in this world that's of value is free. If those top 10 spots were free, then of course everyone would have them. The guy who works the hardest to get position 1, page 1 of the term New Homes, Pittsburgh, PA is the guy who will get those terms. I said this already, geography is crucial. We want to make sure that when we're optimizing you as a builder, that we know where geography is. What territory do you cover? Are there certain municipalities that matter more than other municipalities? Are there locations that you get lots of buyers from? Well, that tells us something. We want to be able to reach that location a little more. You know, you may find that there's a local jurisdiction that you don't get much from, but we're not going to pay much attention to that because the geography that we put into those words plays a huge role. It's very, very important. How does it differ from pay-per-click? I said it just a minute ago, and I'll repeat some of it. Pay-per-click is instant. If you call us today, I'll grab Trent, and we'll set you up a pay-per-click account. And depending on what you're willing to spend, we can have you to the top page of Google in fairly short order. But that click and that position will only hold as long as you pay the bill. If you run out of budget that day, you won't stay in position 1. You'll drop down to the bottom until tomorrow when your budget's reintroduced and you'll go back to the top. Whereas with search engine optimization, organic optimization, it may take us 2 months to get a word to rise to the top for you. It may take 3 or 4, but once we get them there and retain that position for you for 6, 8, 10 months, then you have a really good chance if your website is being taken care of, if you're putting new material on your web, if you're cranking some news through, if you're writing blogs, if you're doing social media, you'll be able to retain that position for much, much longer, and you don't have to continue to pay like you do with pay-per-click. That's the short story of it. And lastly, what should you expect to spend? It really varies, but a real organic campaign is going to run you anywhere from $600 a month to $1,500 a month, depending on the number of keywords we want to optimize for you. And when I say keyword, that just isn't a word. So home builder is a single word. Home builders in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is still a keyword. So you're not paying by the actual word, you're paying by what we call a keyword tail. That will be a keyword. So social media. And I'm talking along. If anyone has any questions, I haven't seen any come through, please don't hesitate to ask. I would love to stop and answer any questions that you may have. So social media, what's the point? Well, there's a big point. And there are also some things to be aware of. Sometimes, you know, social media can be like the children's story where no one wanted to tell the king he didn't have any clothes. It doesn't mean social media is not legitimate. It most certainly is, and it plays a huge role in organic search results today. It's very important that you use your keywords in your social media. But what's the point? Well, one point is that there's tremendous brand power in social media. The more you can get your name in front of the audience. Remember, it's a permission-based world. So when someone says to you, you have my permission to speak to me through Facebook or through Twitter or through Pinterest or through Houzed or through LinkedIn, when they give you that permission, now the obligation to you is, I have permission, how do I not take advantage of it, but begin to use that permission to build my brand? So brand power comes through repetition. Social media is a great tool to do that. Just because someone sees your name once in a social media site doesn't mean they're going to call you and buy a house any more than if they see your name on a billboard once, it doesn't mean they're going to pull over and buy a house. But the fact is, brand power happens by repetition. Be strategic on purpose. You know, a lot of times social media can just become a game of rambling. What's the latest idea that we had? What we do today? The question is, what's your strategy with social media? Is your strategy to help use social media to sell your spec homes? Is your strategy to use social media to build your brand? Is your strategy to use social media to get referrals? What's your strategy? Then once you know that, then you begin to not only use your keywords, but use those keywords to accomplish that very strategy. super cool way of getting in front of people. And guess what? It doesn't cost you a penny to post anything on Facebook if you're doing it yourself. If you're going to pay someone like us or another company to do social media for you, there's obviously a cost, but we know how to do it and we know how to make it effective. So what's your content focus? Is your focus going to be your floor plans and the sticks and bricks? Are you going to talk about how you build houses? Are you going to talk about why modular is a great choice for a home builder? Are you going to talk about why your communities are better than other builders' communities? Are you going to talk about immediacy? What about this week's special? What will your content focus be, and how will you adjust it, not only to use your keywords, but to make sure that when people read your posts, that they get a sense of what you're trying to say. If you're just rambling on all the time, you're going to lose the opportunity and you're going to miss it. I said this already, SEO power. Social media is words. That's what it is. There's some pictures in there, and we can talk about alt tags at another time, but the fact is, SEO is about words, and social media gives you a platform, doesn't matter which platform it is, to associate your company with certain words. Those are your keywords. Those are the things that you've determined. New Homes Memphis, luxurious custom homes Florida, luxurious custom homes Fort Lauderdale. Those terms become a part of your identity because they build your brand. They are who you are. Google's looking for consistency. Are you using them often enough? Are you reinforcing them often enough that those words will be associated with who you are as an organization? Social media gives you that power, and it's really good. Interaction. I often hear interaction's, the thing. If you don't have interaction, you don't have anything. Well, interaction's wonderful. It can be a two-edged sword, granted, but whatever you do, if you have interaction and it's positive, make sure you're responding to it. Make sure that you're speaking back. What you want is a conversation, not just interaction. You want to be able to start a dialogue. The greatest thing you can have happen is have a lengthy dialogue within your site, and you know how to respond. The other question is, well, what if someone gets on Facebook or Twitter and says something really bad about me? Well, we live in a different world. We can't hide that stuff today. When someone gets online and says something about you, it really truly is, and this isn't just rhetoric, it's a golden opportunity. Now you can respond and be real. Now you can respond and say, hey, look, I realize that happened to you. We didn't mean for it to happen, but here's why. We sure hope we can keep you as an excited customer. If my answer doesn't, here's my phone number, call me direct, I'll help you any way I can. It gives you a chance to do what so often businesses don't want to do, which is admit we made a mistake, level up to it and say, hey, here's what happened, we'll make it better the next time. Here's what happened, help us help you. It's a great opportunity. Don't run from it, and for heaven's sakes, don't delete it. That's the worst thing you can do. Suggestions. You can use social media as a great tool. Hey, we're hearing today that people love white kitchen cabinets, or we hear today that people love coffee color cabinets. What say you? Tell us what color cabinets you love today, and put two pictures up of both. And people can pick A or B. You would be surprised the amount of interactivity you get with that sort of thing. Plus, it gives you insight. You may find that in one of your markets, everyone loves coffee color cabinets, and in another market, everyone loves white cabinets. It's just a great way to reach out and see. Not to mention, a lot of the social media tools, like Facebook, have advertising opportunities. And believe me, with Facebook, you can drill down into such demographic detail that it's almost scary, the ability you have to speak to a very narrow audience. We tend to think that the power of the internet is its ability to reach millions of people. And it can do that. But the real power of the internet is its ability to find a very tight niche of people. I talked about that a good bit in Las Vegas. So how do you measure your success? Well, you certainly can. You can't measure it all, because there are certain things that it can't measure your success on social media any better than you can measure your success at a cocktail party. Sometimes you just met 5 people, you had a conversation, and that was the end of that. But, with social media, now we can look at your analytics, and we can tell you how many are coming from Facebook to your website. We can tell you how many are coming from Twitter or your Pinterest pins to your website. Again, what is the website? It's Grand Central Station. I want to keep moving. So here's CRM and marketing automation. This is what Scott often refers to as our secret sauce. Power Marketing are certified Infusionsoft partners. We do a lot of Infusionsoft with our clients. We have a service that we call Easy Lead Locker. Let's go through this real quickly. Here's a question. Do you know who your leads are and what they're doing? And I pause there because I want you to think about it. I've been in this business for nearly 30 years, and I can tell you many of my clients don't know who their leads are, even the ones who called in 2 weeks ago. Because we get so busy, we've lost track of who they were, we've lost the lead, we've not paid attention because they weren't ready, whatever it may be. A good CRM and marketing automation package will help you not only know who they are, but you'll know what they're doing. How are you capturing them on your website? One of the most important elements of your website is that we're setting up tools to be capturing people. If someone wanders into your website, they're really nothing more than a suspect at that point in time. It's very easy to wander in, look around, and wander back out, and you don't have a clue that I was even there. And you can look at your report and you see you had 120 people visit your website this month or this week, but you didn't get a single phone call. Well, that's because you haven't tried to capture them. We haven't put tools and other tools on the website to really capture that visitor to make sure we can take them to the next step, which is nurturing them. No one waltzes in your door. They didn't do it 20 years ago. They don't do it today and go, hey, I'm here. Let me sell me a house. We have to nurture that process. People are very discerning. They try to think it through as best they can, find the best deal they can. Well, while they're doing that, your obligation as a builder is to make sure that you've not only captured them, but now you're nurturing them. You're working through making sure that that customer doesn't drift away and you never see them again. Automation frees you up. Let me go back. Automation frees you up to do the things that are important. Some leads aren't ready to get a phone call. Some leads aren't ready to visit the sales center, but you have some that are. Automation allows you to continue nurturing the leads that aren't quite ready until they are, freeing up time for you to spend time with the ones who are indeed ready. So automation is a powerful tool. With every year passing, we're seeing more and more builders move towards automation. In today's world, you have to have it. If any of you have bought anything on Amazon ever, the world's biggest retailer, you know that within seconds of you making a purchase, Amazon has kicked on the automation. They're sending you stuff going, hey, did you also know that your friend bought this? Or did you know you bought this book? I bet you'd like this one. So what are they doing? They're leveraging the power of automation to get us to buy something again because they understand the principle of recency says the person who's bought from you most recently is the person who's most inclined to what? Buy from you again. Well, as new home salespeople, what do we know? We know that we have to do little closes. We close them on what lot they like and which way they want their house to face and all these different small closes because every yes that we get, the principle of recency says we can get another yes. Let's take it to the next level. So one of the things that we do here is we create internal and external campaigns. If you were to buy Lead Locker from us tomorrow, you would immediately be entered into our own campaign internally that tells our team here, Jeff's building construction company just signed up. He's here today. We do this. We move him to the next phase. He's here tomorrow. And it actually walks us through the process so we don't miss things. You can do the same thing with your building company. You can do it with your prospects. You can also do it with your customers once they buy a home. You can walk your whole organization through a process using campaigns. It's very powerful stuff. So what we offer is Infusionsoft and Easy Lead Locker. So that is the end of my talk today. If you would like to learn a little bit more or you have some questions, because I'm a couple moments early, Scott told me to go 40 minutes. I'm about 40 minutes. Look at that. Right there it is, Scott.
There it is.
If you have questions, I've got plenty of time. I'd love to talk to them. If you would like to hear more about the Sales Machine, just type into the panel there, yes, talk to me about Sales Machine, and we'll reach out to you next week. Love to have some questions. Any questions out there?
Brian, there's a couple of questions. Back on social media, there were a couple, and one is social media, you know, we start a Facebook page, and we've got that. Maybe we've got a Twitter account. What kind of a commitment really does it take to be successful and to continue to get good results from social media?
Well, the first question is, what result do we want? But let's just talk Facebook for a moment. You know, if you're going to do Facebook, I believe you need to try and at least do 3 to 5 posts a week. And some of those you can schedule at different times. Some of those you can schedule to even repeat, because just because you did the post doesn't mean that your audience has seen it. So, you know, with Facebook, 3 to 5 posts a week. With something like Pinterest, where it's a visual site, you know, I'd love to see you pin as many things as you can. If you have people who start to follow you on Pinterest, I follow quite a few different Pinterest accounts, and I really enjoy it. I sit down at night when I'm watching television, and I'll go through some of my Pinterest accounts. I get recipes that way. I get ideas about how to build patios and things that way, because I like that sort of thing. I get to look at all kinds of guitars because I'm a musician and I like guitars, so I'm on several places that pin just beautiful guitars. So it's a great way to get in front of your audience. It's very passive. But the bottom line is, don't sign up for 3 and then do it just a little. The worst thing you can do is to sign up for Facebook and someone goes onto your Facebook page and they see that you haven't posted anything for 3 weeks. They've immediately lost interest. You don't look credible. If you're going to do it, go ahead and get on and give it some time. A Facebook post will only take you 2 minutes, depending on what you post. Does that help, Scott?
Yeah, it does. The next question is a like on Facebook as good as a capture, somebody filling out a form on my website?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, you know, what we're going to try and do with Facebook is we're trying to drive people to your website so we can get them to do just that. At the end of the day, for me, the best thing my website can do is have someone fill in a form, whether it's a short form for a download or whether it's a contact page that says, hey, I'm interested, call me. That's the home run right there. So that's way better than a Facebook like, but they both, one leads to the other.
Okay. Good. Hey, Rick made this comment. He says, we're finding that creating short videos is really good at getting folks to call us. YouTube and Pinterest has been good also. Where's the best place if we're going to use videos to post our videos?
Well, I would say number one is YouTube. Google happens to own YouTube, so if you want to win points with Google, that's where you want to place your videos for sure. And if you have them on your website, don't embed the video into the website. Just simply embed an image and then link out to the YouTube site as well. There's another good place to put your videos is on landing pages. So if you get someone to fill something out, they get to the landing page and they get to the bottom, you may get them to watch a video even there. So in my opinion, YouTube is hands down the best place to put your video, as well as your web. And you know, more and more we're seeing them come through the email. I don't do it myself, but I hear people saying they're doing video emails. Worth a try for sure.
Yeah, and then Mike Lyon still promotes that, and he's used that well. I get emails from him, and you have to watch it. There's a video there, and you click a link, and it takes you to that. So excellent.
It is, yeah.
Thanks.
Well,
yeah.
And I don't do too many emails like that, because Scott did tell me I have a face for radio, so I know where to stop.
I did not. I did. That's well, maybe.
All right, you didn't really.
Brian, go back to the automation thing, and if what is it, and how do we create content that will, or know how to create a nurture campaign? This is asked from Sarah.
Yeah. you know, at the end of the day, every audience is very, very different. And, you know, one of the most transitional words in the world, in my opinion, is the word value, because what means value to a third-time buyer doesn't necessarily mean value to a first-time buyer. So when you're creating a nurture campaign, you want to make sure first and foremost that you know who's your audience, because in order to nurture them, you have to speak to them. So, you know, your content in those campaigns should be targeted as keenly as you can towards the audience's needs, towards the things that you know they're looking at. You know, if there's a plan that's selling particularly well, use that plan. If there's a community or a location that's working really well for you, try to speak as close to the buyer's needs as you can, because that's what resonates. We want to hear what's important to us, not what's important to you as the builder. As a reader, you know, John Spare is our creative director over here, and John is a script writer, and he's won quite a few awards. And John will tell you, you know, you got to tell a story. You got to speak to the audience and speak to them in ways that they care about. So the number one key of any kind of content, keywords are important, because those keywords are sort of the centerpiece of what you want people to think of you. But what's next is, who's the customer? How do we speak to them in a way that really moves them? And also, it depends on where they've clicked on your website. If they were clicking to download a white paper, well, that's one thing. If they're clicking to look at a set of floor plans, that's another thing. So it really depends on the audience and what you think they're looking for at that moment in time. Our Easy Lead Locker program that we offer is, we've taken our 25 years of experience. I mean, I've been in this business for nearly 30. Scott's been in it for a lot longer. My guys, I've got 2 guys here who are members of the Institute of Residential Marketing. We know how to speak to the audiences, and we try our best to listen to our clients and find out, okay, who's the audience? How can we speak directly to them?
Good. Good, thank you. Rick, who made the comment earlier about videos, also said BombBomb is an app that is great to embed videos in emails, and that's kind of a newcomer. And thanks, Rick, for mentioning BombBomb. B-O-M-B, B-O-M-B.
Well, that's a new one for me. I'm going to have to look that one up. Thank you, Rick.
I actually heard it just a few weeks ago and looked it up, and it's a real cool app. Just don't talk about it in the airport. And hey, that's all the questions that we have.
All right.
For right now, we'll hang out just for a couple more minutes. If anyone has questions, you can. Again, request us to call. If you want to know more about how to take the elements, many of the elements of this builder sales machine you might already have. Everybody's got a website, and maybe you're doing some social media, and maybe you've got an automation program, but putting them all together with your SEO, putting everything together and making it talk together and making it work cohesively into a purpose, that's what makes our system a machine. And so we'd love to talk to you. Just invite us to give you a call, and we'll talk more about that sales machine.
Yep.
You've got, Brian, you've got the link. We will make sure that everyone gets that link in an email, everyone that stayed on the call, to get your copy of Master What Matters by Brian. Otherwise, Brian, you went through a lot of stuff today. Thanks so much for sharing that with us.
My pleasure. Thank you to everyone for signing on and listening.
Okay, we want to remind you that our next webinar will be Better is Boring, Different is Radical on March 16th. Watch for your invitation to that. And otherwise, Brian, thanks for being our presenter today. I'm Scott Stroud, and thanks everyone for being on the call. Bye-bye.
Thank you.